Sleepsayer welcomes you, dear listener. As evening's gentle shadows embrace the world, let's take a moment to find perfect comfort. Allow your body to settle deeply into your resting place. Take a slow, calming breath. Tonight, Sleepsayer will share a gentle adaptation of the Miraculous Monk from Thailand, where dreams and reality dance together in perfect harmony. The coastal village rests in perfect stillness as twilight paints the sky in watercolors of amber and lavender. Waves caress the shore in a rhythmic lullaby that has remained unchanged for centuries. The scent of salt and jasmine mingles in the warm evening air, carried on a breeze so gentle it barely disturbs the palm fronds. In this peaceful corner of ancient Siam, time moves with the patience of clouds drifting across the endless sky. Here, among simple wooden homes where families gather for evening meals, stories are shared in hushed, reverent tones. And no story is more treasured than that of the child who would one day be known as the Miraculous Monk. In a humble home near the Whispering Sea, a mother cradled her newborn son beneath a canopy of stars. His skin glowed with an unusual radiance that cast soft light upon her face. She noticed how the night creatures fell silent in his presence, as if listening for wisdom from one so new to the world. The baby's eyes, when they opened, held a depth and compassion that seemed impossible for one who had just entered this life. His grandmother, watching from the doorway, smiled knowingly. "This child," she whispered, "will bring light to many paths." Neighbors soon began to notice something special about the infant. When rain threatened the village's rice harvest, dark clouds would part above his family's small home. When fishermen struggled to find their way back to shore in dense fog, they would see a gentle glow emanating from the direction of the child's house. You might imagine the soft wonder in their voices as they spoke of these events while mending their nets by twilight. The sweet scent of incense drifted through the village as elders offered thanks for this blessed presence among them. As the special child grew into a thoughtful boy, he found comfort in quiet moments of contemplation. He would sit beneath a venerable banyan tree whose branches created patterns of shadow and light on the earth below. The rustle of leaves above seemed to share ancient secrets with him as he closed his eyes and listened. You can almost feel the rough texture of the tree bark against your fingertips as you imagine him there. The boy discovered he could understand the language of animals that visited him during these peaceful hours. A kingfisher perched nearby would tell him where the sweetest mangoes could be found. An old sea turtle shared stories of distant shores and underwater kingdoms that glimmered like stars. You might hear the gentle harmony of their voices, blending with the rhythm of your own breath. His parents watched with quiet pride as their son's compassion extended to all living things. When he found an injured heron, he stayed with it through the night, speaking softly until its pain eased. By morning, the bird's wing had healed completely, and it soared into the dawn sky with renewed strength. The village children began to bring their troubles to him, instinctively sensing his ability to soothe hurts both seen and unseen. As moonlight bathes the listening landscape in silver dreams, we follow the boy's journey into young adulthood. The path before him gradually revealed itself like morning mist parting to show the way forward. He began to dream of a life dedicated to wisdom and compassion. You can feel the certainty settling into his heart like a seed finding perfect soil. On his 16th birthday, he sat beneath the stars with his parents, the night air wrapping around them like a silk blanket. "I wish to study with the temple monks," he said softly. His mother's eyes glistened with tears that held both sorrow and pride. His father nodded slowly, having long expected this moment would come. "The world has need of gentle souls like yours," his father said, placing a weathered hand on his son's shoulder. "You notice how the crickets seem to sing more sweetly as this decision settles into the night air." The next morning dawned with extraordinary clarity, as if the world itself approved of his choice. Golden light spilled across the path that would lead him away from the only home he had known. Yet in his heart, he carried the lessons of the sea, the wind, and the kind village that had nurtured him. The temple grounds welcomed him with ancient stone steps worn smooth by countless feet before his. Bell tones drifted through the morning mist, creating ripples of sound that seemed to touch his soul. You might imagine the cool stone beneath his bare feet as he climbed toward his new life. The head monk, whose face held the gentle wisdom of decades of contemplation, greeted him with knowing eyes. "We have been waiting for you," he said simply. Days at the temple flowed into one another like tributaries joining a great river. Dawn began with meditation as soft light gradually illuminated the sacred space. You can feel your own breath becoming deeper, more peaceful as you imagine joining this quiet ritual. Afternoons were spent in study of ancient texts whose words seemed to glow with inner meaning. The young monk discovered that water responded to his touch in unusual ways. When he blessed a dry well during a drought, cool, sweet water rose to the surface, bringing relief to a nearby village. This moment passed without fanfare, as natural to him as the rising sun. Evening prayers filled the air with harmony as shadows lengthened across the temple courtyard. Stars appeared one by one in the deepening night sky, each a point of light in the vast darkness. You might notice how your body feels heavier, more relaxed as you envision this peaceful scene. Years passed in this tranquil rhythm until a dream came to the now-revered monk for 3 consecutive nights. He saw himself bringing wisdom to a distant southern kingdom where people awaited his arrival without knowing it. The head monk listened to his account of these dreams and nodded thoughtfully. "Some paths must be walked alone," he said, placing a protective amulet around the younger monk's neck. A trading vessel agreed to carry him southward across waters known for unpredictable moods. As the shoreline of his homeland receded, the monk settled into a quiet space on the ship's deck. The gentle rocking motion lulled those around him into peaceful contemplation. You can almost feel the same soothing rhythm as you rest more deeply now. Several days into the journey, dark clouds gathered on the horizon with alarming speed. The captain's weathered face showed concern as sailors rushed to secure the vessel. Waves rose like mountains around them, threatening to swallow the ship whole. Passengers huddled below deck, their prayers nearly lost in the howling wind. The monk remained calm, his presence somehow anchoring those around him in the chaos. When water began pouring into the ship's hold, he approached it with the same serenity he brought to all things. Kneeling beside the rising water, he touched its surface with gentle reverence. You might imagine the sudden silence that fell as the water responded to his touch. Before the astonished eyes of the crew, the seawater transformed to sweet, drinkable water. The storm outside continued, but a profound peace settled over those within the ship. They drank the miraculous water, their fear dissolving like morning mist in sunlight. By dawn, the ocean had calmed, and the ship continued its journey under clearing skies. The southern kingdom appeared on the horizon as a line of green between sea and sky. Palm trees swayed in welcome as the ship approached shores where drought had brought great suffering. You can almost feel the warm breeze against your skin as the monk stepped onto this new land. Local people watched with curiosity as he walked among them with humble presence. A child approached him first, offering a simple wildflower with unquestioning trust. The monk accepted this gift with the same reverence he would show a king's treasure. You notice how the air seems lighter around him, as if his very presence brought relief. That night, he slept under the stars, the earth beneath him solid and welcoming. In his dreams, he saw where he must go next, to a village high in the hills where thirst had become a constant companion. Morning found him walking along a dusty path that climbed gently upward. The landscape around him seemed to breathe more easily in his presence. Butterflies accompanied his journey, their delicate wings catching sunlight like living jewels. The hill village appeared before him as the sun reached its highest point. Thin smoke rose from cooking fires, and children with solemn eyes watched his approach. You might hear the whispers that followed him as villagers recognized something extraordinary in his gentle demeanor. The village elder greeted him with hands pressed together in respect. "Our wells have been dry for many moons," the elder explained, his voice rough with worry. Without speaking, the monk allowed himself to be led to the main well at the village center. A crowd gathered as he sat beside the dry stone well in peaceful meditation. You can feel the hushed anticipation that settled over the gathering like a blanket. The monk placed his hand upon the earth and closed his eyes. Minutes passed in perfect stillness, broken only by the sound of distant birdsong. A child gasped first, pointing to where a drop of water had appeared on the well's inner wall. Then another drop, and another, until water began to flow in earnest from seemingly nowhere. The sound of life-giving water rising in the well might remind you of your own breath, flowing in and out with perfect rhythm. Villagers watched in wonder as the well filled with clear, sweet water that caught the afternoon light like liquid crystal. You notice how your body feels heavier, more at peace as this gentle miracle unfolds in your mind's eye. No great proclamations were made, no explanations given. The monk simply smiled and continued on his way, leaving abundance where there had been lack. Word of the water miracle traveled across the kingdom like ripples on a pond. people began to seek out the humble monk who moved among them with quiet purpose. Some came for healing, others for wisdom, all finding exactly what they needed most. You might sense how your own breathing has found its natural, peaceful rhythm now. A mother brought her child who had not spoken since birth. The monk simply sat with them in silence until the child looked up and whispered her first word, peace. A farmer whose crops failed season after season found the monk resting beneath a tree on his land. By morning, green shoots had appeared in fields long barren. Each encounter left both the monk and those he met somehow changed, as if they had exchanged essential gifts. You can feel how this gentle giving and receiving mirrors the natural rhythm of your breathing. Villages that had long been in conflict found reasons to share resources after the monk had walked among them. His legacy was not of grand temples or written teachings, but of countless small moments where suffering eased. Like stars appearing in the evening sky, these points of light began to connect and illuminate the darkness. As our story draws toward its peaceful conclusion, imagine the monk in his later years. His face now mapped with lines of wisdom, eyes still holding that same compassionate light. You notice how people are drawn to the aura of tranquility that surrounds him like a gentle cloak. He has chosen a simple cave near the sea as his final dwelling place. Here, where the rhythm of waves creates a perfect meditation, he spends his days in deep contemplation. Visitors still come, though less frequently, respecting his journey inward. Those who do make the pilgrimage often find that their questions are answered before they can be asked. You might feel your own questions gently settling as sleep draws nearer. The monk's breath has become so subtle that it seems to merge with the air around him. His awareness has expanded beyond the boundaries of his physical form. You can sense how your own awareness is growing softer, more diffuse as you rest more deeply. On a perfect evening when the moon hangs low over calm waters, the monk closes his eyes for the final time. Yet those nearby do not feel grief, but rather a sense of expansion, as if his compassion has been released to touch all things. Fishermen far out at sea report seeing a gentle glow along the shoreline that guides them safely home. Farmers notice their crops growing with unprecedented vigor in the following season. Children dream of a kind presence that brings comfort during storms. The monk's physical form has gone, yet his essence remains in every act of kindness, every moment of peace. His story continues to be shared in hushed, reverent tones as evening shadows lengthen. You might notice how this continuing legacy feels like your own breath, flowing outward to touch the world around you. The coastal village rests in perfect stillness as night fully embraces the world. Waves continue their eternal conversation with the shore. Stars reflect in tide pools like scattered diamonds on black velvet. The same breeze that once caressed the monk's face now carries dreams from one sleeper to another. You can feel yourself drifting now, like a leaf on a gentle current. The boundaries between this ancient story and your own experience grow softer, less defined. Each breath brings deeper peace as you settle into perfect comfort. The monk's journey of compassion merges with your own journey toward restful sleep. As our story draws to a close, moonlight bathes the world in silver dreams. Each breath brings deeper peace. Let these gentle moments carry you into your own dreams. Sleep Sayer bids you good night.